Guys, before we begin, I have one small request. These recaps take hours of hard work to make. So, if you see the hype button, please take a second to hype this video and subscribe to the channel. Your support truly means a lot to me. Now, let's begin.
3 years ago, I brought home a little blind girl who had been abandoned by everyone. She loved nibbling on my ear and whispering that she was my good little puppy. At night, she would gently run her hands over me again and again, saying she wanted to memorize what I looked like through touch. Only after she regained her eyesight did I learn that she was actually the missing eldest daughter of the Shen family, and that she had already been engaged to someone else. Before she could ever see my face, I left behind a fake death certificate and disappeared without a trace. I hid for 5 years. Only after hearing that she was getting married did I dare to return. But the moment my plane landed, the airport was surrounded by a large group of bodyguards dressed in black, holding a custom-made groom suit. Shen Nianchu smiled gently, yet there was an unmistakable obsession in her eyes. My fiancé. 5 years ago, the measurements weren't accurate. Good. Let me measure you again. My manager pulled me to the entrance of a private room, but I froze, too afraid to step inside. Because sitting in that room was the Shen family's eldest daughter, Shen Nianchu. Through the half-open door, I heard someone flattering her. "Princess Shen, I heard you disappeared back then and even lost your eyesight. Those days must have been very difficult." Shen Nianchu let out a graceful chuckle. "It wasn't difficult. Someone stayed by my side and took care of me every day. Compared to now, life was actually much easier. That must have been your fiancé. Going through hardships together truly deepens love. Congratulations to you both." "No," Shen Nianchu interrupted him. In a calm, detached voice, she said, "He's here." I was startled and instinctively looked up. Through the crack in the door, I saw Shen Nianchu casually point toward the ground beneath her feet. "He's buried here." Right, I was already dead. 5 years ago, the death certificate had been personally signed and confirmed by Shen Nianchu herself. My manager, who was also eavesdropping beside me, whispered, "That guy really had bad luck. If he hadn't died, he'd probably be living the high life by now." I smiled faintly. "Impossible," my manager frowned. "Why are you so sure? If he managed to stay by Princess Shen's side and take care of her personally, he must have been quite remarkable. I bet he was really good at winning her over." I lowered my eyes, hiding the guilt in them. Sometimes, even now, I couldn't tell who had fallen for whom first between Shen Nianchu and me. Back then, she was blind, so her hearing had become incredibly sensitive. I had merely whispered something softly into her ear, but to her, it sounded as loud as thunder. At the time, I was still innocent and inexperienced. Out of curiosity, I asked her, "What exactly does it feel like to truly fall in love?" While trying to explain it to me, she reached out, intending to touch my chest where my heart was. Instead, she accidentally touched somewhere else. In an instant, her entire neck and collarbone flushed bright red. Seeing her whole body stiffen as she turned crimson, I thought she was seriously ill. I burst into tears and rushed toward her, trying to give her first aid. Instead, she pulled me into her arms and gently kissed me. Just as I was lost in those memories, a waiter pushing a cart suddenly bumped into me. I instinctively cried out. The half-open door to the private room swung fully open. Seated directly opposite the entrance, Shen Nianchu slowly raised her eyes and looked straight at me. The moment our eyes met, every drop of blood in my body seemed to freeze. I couldn't even turn around. Fortunately, only a few seconds passed. 5 years of surviving in society had taught me one thing: how to wear a perfect fake smile. Come to think of it, although Shen Nianchu and I had lived together for 2 years, although those slender hands of hers had traced over my face and body more times than even my own hands had, to her, I was still nothing more than a dead man whose face she had never once seen, even if we had been that close. How could she possibly recognize someone she had never laid eyes on, just as I expected? Shen Nianchu didn't recognize me. As glasses clinked together, her bright yet distant gaze briefly settled on me. For some reason, it made my nerves tingle, just like the very first time I met her. That night was filled with thunder and pouring rain. I had just lost my mother forever at the hospital. Crying all the way home, I stumbled into someone in a dark alley. Leaning against the wall was Shen Nianchu. She was soaked from head to toe, barely conscious, and looked completely exhausted. Under the dim streetlight, her face was covered in bruises and cuts, yet despite all those injuries, she was still breathtakingly beautiful. Blood trickled from her almond-shaped eyes, but the look on her face remained cold and guarded. I was terrified. My first instinct was to run. But then I thought of my mother. She had suffered so much lying on that hospital bed. I had wished with all my heart that someone could have saved her. In the end, I carried Shen Nyanchu back to my small rented apartment and spent all the money I had to treat her injuries. Back then, I was poor and uneducated. I couldn't tell that the clothes she wore were worth more than everything I owned. I simply assumed she was another homeless person like me. I even believed it was my mother's blessing from heaven. She must have been worried I'd be lonely, so she sent Shen Nyanchu into my life. I thought. I finally had family again, someone to care about. Suddenly, my manager gently pinched the back of my hand. "What are you thinking about? You're even smiling." I snapped back to reality. The smile on my face instantly became stiff. Seeing my reaction, my manager suddenly asked, "Chen, don't tell me you've fallen for Shen Nyanchu. I'm warning you. She's famous for never getting involved with men. Anyone who tries to get close to her usually ends up miserable. I heard her fiancé is the young master of one of the capital's most powerful families. They've known each other since childhood and their relationship is very strong. Don't let yourself get carried away. Woman like her is completely out of your league. You could get yourself into serious trouble. Into trouble, back when I decided to leave Shen Nyanchu. I had tied her to that cheap little bed in our apartment. Then I deliberately told her, the past 2 years, I was only keeping you around because I was lonely. A rich woman has taken an interest in me. I'm leaving with her. I don't want you anymore. At the time, Shen Nyanchu's face was burning red. With a trembling voice, she shouted, "Lu Chen, you'd better not let me catch you." At the time, she was probably more humiliated than she had ever been in her life. Compared to that, I had already offended her beyond repair, fortunately. As far as everyone knew, I was already dead. For that, I suppose I should thank her fiancé. After all, there was no way Shen Nyanchu and I would ever meet again tonight. Thinking that, I casually walked into the hotel's garden. The moment I looked up, I saw a slender figure standing quietly beneath the night sky. A slim lady's cigarette rested between her pale fingers. It was Shen Nyanchu. She turned around and looked at me. Just as I was desperately thinking of how to respond, she suddenly called out, "Revive." I froze. Revive? Had she recognized me? Before I could panic any further, a small dog suddenly dashed over from behind and happily rubbed against my leg. It was my little mixed-breed dog that I had raised years ago. Back then, I could never decide on a name for it. To my surprise, Shen Nyanchu had adopted it, and she had named it Revive. So she wasn't calling me, she was calling the dog. Still, a chill ran down my spine. If she ever discovered that I wasn't dead, and that I had deceived her, the consequences would be unimaginable. Shen Nyanchu smiled faintly and waved at the little dog. But after being separated from me for so many years, it refused to leave my side, happily circling around my feet. "It seems my dog likes you very much." Her calm yet unreadable gaze settled on my face. I forced myself to stay composed. Thankfully, the little dog gave me an excuse for the nervousness I couldn't hide. "Maybe it's because I smell like meat. Steak sauce splashed onto my clothes earlier. I should head back now, Princess Shen." Just as I was about to leave, Shen Nyanchu suddenly spoke again. "You know, being a dog is actually quite a happy life." I stopped in my tracks. "What do you mean, as long as a dog is obedient? Its owner will reward it. There's nothing wrong with being a good little dog." Those words instantly reminded me of the past, whenever we became especially close. Shen Nyanchu would lie on top of me, gently nibble on my ear, and whisper like she was acting spoiled. "I'm a Chen's good little puppy." My heart jumped into my throat. I clenched my fists tightly. "I'm sorry, Princess Shen. I'm human. I don't really understand dogs." My awkward answer left the atmosphere silent. Just as I was searching for an excuse to leave, she suddenly asked, "If you had a good little dog, would you ever abandon it?" "I wouldn't." "Why?" "Because I don't have the ability to take responsibility for one. I lost my mother. I lost Shen Nyanchu. I even lost my little dog. I won't allow myself to have another weakness. I still have people to meet for tonight's event. I won't disturb you any longer, Princess Shen. I turned to leave, but the little dog suddenly ran toward me again. Afraid of stepping on it, I instinctively dodged. I lost my balance and stumbled forward before I could fall. A pair of slender arms wrapped around my waist from behind, just like they used to. What's wrong? Are you feeling unwell? My back rested against her soft embrace. Near my ear came her gentle yet anxious voice. It was exactly the same as during those 2 years. She had always cared for me so attentively for a moment. It almost made me believe we could have stayed together forever. Nyanchu, have you been in the garden for so long? A refined male voice suddenly came from behind us. I didn't even have to turn around to know who it was. Song Hongxuan, Shen Nyanchu's childhood friend. And her fiancé. Some voices stay with you forever because they shattered your dreams. To me, Song Hongxuan's voice was one of them. I still remembered the first words he spoke when he walked into my shabby rented apartment years ago. So this filthy place is where Nyanchu spent 2 whole years. For our future. She really endured a lot. Never been the timid type. But standing before the confident and elegant Song Hongxuan, I couldn't even find the courage to argue back. For the first time in my life, I felt ashamed of my poverty. Fortunately, I'm no longer that person, because my heart is no longer trapped by those feelings. I quickly stepped away from Shen Nyanchu. Song Hongxuan walked over. The moment he saw my face, surprise flashed across his eyes, but it disappeared within seconds. His acting was clearly better than mine. With a polite smile, he asked, "Hello, you're the new singer signed by Sister Kai's company, right?" "Yes." "Then why were you hugging Nyanchu just now?" Turning to Shen Nyanchu, he joked, "Aren't you worried your future husband might get jealous?" "Future husband?" Shen Nyanchu quietly repeated those words. Her long eyelashes trembled slightly, yet her eyes never left me. There was an indescribable intensity in her gaze. "Dog startled me just now. Princess Shen only helped me keep my balance." "Thank you. You two carry on." Keeping a calm expression, I turned to leave. But Shen Nyanchu walked over in her high heels and blocked my path. She reached into her pocket and handed me a wedding invitation. "My wedding is 1 month from now. I want you to come." Her tone wasn't a request, it was a certainty. Song Hongxuan laughed helplessly. "Nyanchu, honestly, you even sealed the invitations. They can only be opened on the wedding day. If you do that, no one will know the bride and groom's names beforehand." I had no interest in listening to their conversation. I politely accepted the invitation and left. On my way back to my room, I casually tore the invitation into pieces and threw it into the trash without noticing. One corner of it hadn't been completely torn away. A tiny piece remained, revealing a single character, Chen. I thought my reunion with Shen Nyanchu had been nothing more than an accident, so I put it behind me and focused entirely on my career. Then one day, my manager excitedly told me that a famous director wanted me to sing the opening theme for his new drama, for someone with my current level of fame. It was like an unbelievable opportunity, but the moment I arrived at the studio and saw Shen Nyanchu, I immediately understood this wasn't luck at all. The one who had specifically chosen me was Princess Shen herself. My manager enthusiastically greeted everyone. When we reached Shen Nyanchu, she unexpectedly spoke first. "Mr. Liu, it's been a long time." My manager quickly smiled awkwardly. "Princess Shen, you've mistaken him. Surname is Chu, name is Chu Chen." My heartbeat instantly sped up. After faking my death 5 years ago, I had closed my old identity, moved to another city, and taken my mother's surname. But I kept the character Chen. My mother had chosen that character for my name. I could never bring myself to change it. Besides, it wasn't exactly a rare character. Shen Nyanchu looked at me thoughtfully before saying casually, "Perhaps I remembered incorrectly. Once knew someone who also had the character Chen in his name. His surname was Liu. More you say, the more likely you'll slip up." So I simply smiled awkwardly and stayed silent. My manager nudged me from behind, urging me to respond. Instead, I accidentally bumped into a staff member. At noon, the crew handed out lunch. The fruit salad placed in front of me contained mango. I was allergic to mango. No one knew that better than Shen Nyanchu. But if I refused to eat it now, she would become even more suspicious. Fortunately, my allergy wasn't severe. At worst, I'd get a mild rash. One allergy pill would solve it, compared to the trouble of exposing my identity. This was nothing. I opened the fruit salad, right in front of Shen Nyanchu. I picked up a piece of mango with my fork and brought it toward my mouth. The next second, Shen Nyanchu suddenly reached over and took the fork from my hand. With the natural elegance of someone raised in privilege, she looked almost annoyed. The piece of mango fell back onto the table. My manager was stunned. Princess Shen. Without saying a word, Shen Nyanchu took away the entire fruit salad. As she walked away, I heard her instruct her assistant, "I'll eat this one. Prepare a hot meal with rice for him instead." Soon afterward, her assistant brought me a luxurious meal with 8 different dishes. Just one meal from this restaurant cost well over 10,000 yuan. My manager was completely dumbfounded. She quietly leaned over and whispered, "Chen, you didn't secretly get close to Princess Shen behind my back, did you? Did you actually win her over? I thought I told you she wasn't interested in anyone. The way she looks at you, it's like she only notices you, with so many people here. You're the only one she keeps paying attention to." My grip on the chopsticks tightened slightly. Only paying attention to me, maybe. Being fooled back then wasn't as ridiculous as I thought. Even my sharp and capable manager had misunderstood the situation. Back when I first brought Shen Nyanchu home, she was blind and covered in injuries. I was so poor that every piece of clothing I owned had patches sewn onto it. It wasn't that I had never considered taking her to a shelter, but the moment I reached for the door, Shen Nyanchu grabbed the corner of my shirt with her wounded hand. "Please, don't send me away." Although she couldn't see, she looked directly toward my voice. Those beautiful eyes, even without sight, seemed brighter than sunlight itself. It was impossible not to be drawn in. My heart softened immediately. I asked where her parents and family were. She quietly shook her head. "I don't know." Lowering her head, she looked like a helpless little puppy. Her thin face was still covered with bruises. I assumed someone had abandoned her. Maybe the trauma had made her lose her memory so. I began working 3 different jobs every day to earn enough money for her treatment. Every evening after I returned home from work, Shen Nyanchu would hold my hands and warm them for me. Then she'd gently warm my feet as well. "Chen, you've worked so hard. When my eyes recover, give you the best life, the best home. You'll never have to struggle like this again. You'll never have to work so hard. I'm sorry. It's because of me that you're suffering. Wait a little longer. I promise I'll make it happen." Her hands were always warm when she held mine. It felt as though that warmth reached straight into my heart. Listening to her promises, my heart melted with happiness. I never once questioned why she sounded so certain. Nor did I notice the guilt and restraint quietly hidden in her eyes. "Could I blame you? I'm the man here. It's my responsibility to support this family. Already decided. Once we've saved enough money, we'll go to the best eye hospital, matter what it costs. Help you see again. I want us to experience the whole world together. If we're lucky, we'll have children someday. If not, that's okay too. Can spend our lives taking care of each other. Day. Buy us a real home, place that's bigger than this, place that doesn't leak whenever it rains, and where the electricity never goes out." Whenever I talked excitedly about our future, Shen Nyanchu would simply hug me tightly. She'd tilt her head upward and kiss me again and again. Then she'd lean against me playfully until I couldn't continue talking. At the time, I thought she simply enjoyed teasing me. Looking back now, maybe she just didn't want to hear those dreams, because the future I longed for was an ordinary person's happiness, while she had been born into one of the wealthiest families in the capital. The life she considered ordinary was completely different from mine. Inside that tiny, worn-out apartment, we were 2 lonely souls relying on each other for warmth. But once we stepped outside, we belonged to 2 entirely different worlds. During a break in the recording, Song Hongxuan arrived. As the young master of one of the capital's most influential families, and Shen Nyanchu's childhood companion, he immediately became the center of attention. He personally handed out afternoon tea to everyone. Finally, he walked over to Shen Nyanchu and offered her a chestnut pastry he had made himself. "What brings you here today? I didn't expect you to sit through the entire theme song recording. You seemed completely absorbed." Shen Nyanchu didn't take the pastry. Instead, she replied calmly, "I'm here to meet someone very important." The moment she said that, everyone started teasing them. Song Hongxuan smiled affectionately. Someone boldly asked, "Princess Shen, is your wedding with President Song really next month?" This time Shen Nianchu answered with unusual seriousness. "At next month's wedding, I'm going to confess my feelings to the person I love." I didn't stay to hear the rest. Instead, I walked onto the balcony to clear my head. Maybe I had eaten too much during lunch. The warm meal had left me feeling sleepy. Just as I was about to head back inside after enjoying the cool breeze, I heard voices coming from the side entrance. "Nianchu. Do you think that man named Chu Chen sounds like him?" It was Song Hongxuan speaking. "But Lu Chen has been dead for 5 years. Back then, you were the one who asked me to give him some money and persuade him to leave. Simply gave him a little more, accepted the money without any hesitation. Probably never loved you that much. If anything, loved money more." Song Hongxuan had misunderstood everything. The truth was, back then I wasn't wise enough to realize that money was more important than love. There were 2 reasons I accepted the money so quickly. First, I had never seen that much money before. After being humiliated by Song Hongxuan, I felt completely worthless. Second, half a month before he came looking for me, I had already witnessed something with my own eyes. That day, the shop where I worked closed early, so I returned home ahead of schedule. As I approached the courtyard, I saw Shen Nianchu. The woman who was supposed to be blind and suffering from memory loss was standing there with her arms around a handsome man. Her eyes were open. They were filled with warmth and affection. There wasn't the slightest sign that she couldn't see. Only when she looked around cautiously did her expression become sharp and alert. The blind one had actually been me. Looking back now, I was so insecure and timid back then that it almost seemed ridiculous. Seeing that scene, my heart felt as if it had been torn apart. I crouched alone at the corner of the street and cried for a long time, but when I finally returned home, I pretended nothing had happened. I didn't even dare ask her about it because I was afraid of learning the truth. I was afraid she would leave me, and I would be alone again. Later, Song Hongxuan came to my door carrying the money. He showed me countless intimate photos of himself and Shen Nianchu. There were even edited photos meant to convince me they had already become lovers. That was the final blow my mother had always taught me. Never force yourself to hold on to someone whose heart belongs elsewhere. So, in a fit of anger, I completely pushed Shen Nianchu away. A few hours later, I accepted Song Hongxuan's fake death plan. I took the money and disappeared. Looking back now, my only regret was that I didn't ask for more. A week after the promotional photo shoot ended, everything remained peaceful. I assumed Song Hongxuan had successfully convinced Shen Nianchu and that she would stop investigating me. That night, I was packing my luggage to leave the capital. My manager, Sister Kai, was scrolling through her social media beside me. Just saw a friend's post. They said Princess Shen's little dog has gone missing. She's been searching for days but still can't find it. My heart skipped a beat. The little dog was missing when I faked my death and left. I couldn't take it with me, so I entrusted it to the family that sold roast chicken at the entrance of our alley. At least there, it would always have leftover bones and scraps to eat. Sister Kai continued, "I heard Princess Shen has already bought another dog. I guess she's given up looking for the old one." Her words made me even more anxious. Without thinking further, I rushed out into the pouring rain and took a late-night taxi. I returned to the place where everything had once begun, as expected. The front door was unlocked. I hurried inside, still holding my umbrella. "Little guy, I knew you'd come back here." Click. The lights suddenly turned on. The little dog wasn't there. Instead, sitting beside the old plastic table, was a slender figure completely out of place. A lady's cigarette still burned between her fingers. When she slowly looked up at me, her eyes were even redder than the glowing tip of the cigarette. "Chen, you're finally back." It was Shen Nianchu. The moment I noticed the little dog quietly sitting beside her feet, I realized I had walked straight into her trap. Even so, I couldn't help making one last attempt. "Princess Shen, what did you just call?" Nianchu stared at me without blinking. "That night, Revive was unusually affectionate toward you. Has never taken the initiative to get close to anyone else. You tore up the wedding invitation I gave you and threw it into the trash. If you truly didn't know me, there would have been no reason to do that. Attending the wedding would have helped you build connections. I arranged for you to sing the theme song. The moment you opened your mouth to sing, I knew it was you. When you saw the mango, you hesitated. You still deliberately tried to eat it in front of me. At lunch. You didn't touch the cilantro. You didn't eat the mushrooms either. Importantly, Lu Chen memorized every part of you through touch. You really think I wouldn't recognize you since my disguise had been completely exposed? There was no point pretending anymore. That's right. I'm Lu Chen. So, Princess Shen, what exactly do you want from me? You think you can just leave after everything? Shen Nianchu walked toward me in her high heels, her eyes filled with anger. I thought she was about to slap me. After all, the way I had left her back then had been merciless, but instead, she stopped in front of me slowly. She raised her hand, her fingertips gently brushed across my face. So, you really look exactly the way I always imagined. These past few years, pictured your face countless times. You're even more handsome than I imagined. She gazed at me without looking away. The most handsome man I've ever seen. I didn't avoid her touch. Instead, I asked calmly, Princess, this fun for you? Her hand froze. A Chen. She softly called my name. The noble young lady of the Shen family. That you've regained everything. You have wealth. You have power. What is this? Trying to relive your old memories, if that's what you want. Fine, me, play along. I looked directly into her eyes. Perhaps my expression angered her. She stared at me fiercely through clenched teeth. So, you care about his money, for money. You were willing to abandon your name, your home, everything? That's right. Not only that, back then I accepted 3 million. I even faked my death and disappeared. Looking back now, I was too foolish. You're the eldest daughter of the Shen family. I saved your life. Even 30 million wouldn't have been too much. Before I could react, Shen Nianchu suddenly pulled me into her arms. Standing on tiptoe, she kissed me. Then she untied the sash from her dress and gently tied my wrists together. Her lips slowly brushed against my neck. I didn't struggle. If she wanted to continue, then so be it. Is this what you want? Go ahead. I'm not afraid. Wasn't afraid when you couldn't even see me. So why would I be afraid now? Those words only made her angrier. She pushed against my chest as if she wanted to pin me onto the same cheap little bed from years ago. But halfway through, she suddenly seemed to remember something. Without another word, she grabbed my arm and pulled me outside. She drove me to a luxurious villa the moment we entered. She crouched down and personally helped me change into a pair of warm indoor slippers. The next second, she stood up, wrapped her arms around my neck, lowered my head and kissed me again. While she was resting against my shoulder, I deliberately teased her. Why didn't you bring me back to that old apartment, Princess Shen? Do you think it's too shabby for you now? She paused for a moment, then she quietly replied, you have chronic allergies. The blankets there haven't been changed for a long time. There's too much dust. I froze for a second, then I smiled to myself. I was no longer the naive young man who could be moved to tears by a little kindness. When you've learned to rely on yourself, you realize that warmth doesn't have to come from someone else. Just then, I suddenly sneezed before I could stop it. My runny nose ended up on the back of Shen Nianchu's hand. She didn't show the slightest hint of disgust. Instead, she immediately grabbed some tissues and carefully wiped my hand clean. Then she took out my allergy nasal spray from the refrigerator. After that, she made me a cup of warm red date tea. Everything had already been prepared. I gave a faint smile. It seems a man lives here, Princess Shen. You're certainly considerate. Do you take care of Mr. Song this way too? She looked puzzled. Why would I take care of him? We're not that kind of couple. Aren't you two getting married? You people from wealthy families really have a unique way of doing things. I was never going to marry him. So-called engagement. Nothing more than something our elders joked about when we were children. I looked at her quietly. Invitations have already been sent. At this point, do you still expect me to believe you, Shen Nianchu? Have you ever truly been honest with me? Shen Nianchu looked up at me, a trace of nervousness visible in her eyes. Lu Chen, what if I told you I want to marry you? No, I cut her off without hesitation. Shen Nianchu, after everything that's happened, do you really think I'd still marry you? Her lips trembled slightly. So, matter what I say now, you won't believe me anymore. That's right. The moment I found out you had been pretending to have amnesia, I stopped believing in you. We're strangers now. You can walk your path as the Shen family's eldest daughter, and I'll live my ordinary life. paths will never cross again. I spoke calmly from beginning to end. There wasn't a hint of anger in my voice. Shen Nianchu didn't say anything. The confidence and determination she had shown just moments ago completely disappeared. She lowered her head. Her long black hair fell over her delicate face, slowly. She knelt in front of me. Her fair fingers trembled slightly as she tightly held the tissue she had used to wipe my nose once again. She looked just like the obedient little puppy she used to be. I forced myself not to react. After a long silence, she finally spoke in a hoarse voice. "Chen, will you come to my wedding?" "No," I refused without even thinking. "I hope you'll come. You attend. Give you Zhongle Entertainment's only contract spot for this year. Please." Her voice carried a hint of pleading. I didn't bother refusing. Sure. Zhongle Entertainment was one of the most prestigious music companies in the industry. Countless newcomers fought desperately for a chance to sign with them. If she was willing to hand me the opportunity, why would I reject it? It's a promise. "Chen, you have to come." Shen Nianchu personally drove me back to my apartment before leaving. She reminded me once again not to miss the wedding. I couldn't understand what she was thinking. Who invites their former lover to their own wedding? I gave up trying to figure it out. The moment I arrived home, I saw someone I least wanted to meet, Song Hongxuan. He stood outside my apartment, staring at me coldly. "Mr. Liu, never expected you to come back. You really think that just because Nianchu recognized you? I have no way of dealing with you from everything that had happened tonight." I had already pieced together most of the truth. Song Hongxuan had deceived Shen Nianchu. As a result, she believed I had abandoned her simply because I wanted more money. Since neither of us had trusted the other, neither of us could place all the blame on someone else. Smiling calmly, I asked, "Mr. Song, you planning to blacklist me? You probably don't know. I recorded our conversation back then, of course." That was a lie. The younger version of me had never been clever enough to think of something like that. But Song Hongxuan clearly believed it because Shen Nianchu was his greatest weakness. It was almost amusing after all these years. He was still just as emotionally attached. Life had taught me one thing: the more you keep giving in, the more others will push you around. Song Hongxuan had no response. Before leaving, perhaps unwilling to admit defeat, he turned back one last time. "Nianchu and I are getting married next month." "I know." I smiled faintly. "When she lived with me, I was her first love. I also taught her how to care for the person she loves. So, I sincerely wish you a happy wedding night." With that, I shut the door finally. I felt much better. The humiliation Song Hongxuan had put me through years ago, I had already let go of. But there was one thing I could never forget back then. He had kicked over the table in my house. My mother's photo frame had fallen to the floor and shattered. Today, I had finally settled that score. After signing with Zhongle Entertainment, my schedule became unbelievably busy. If my manager hadn't reminded me, I almost would have forgotten about Shen Nianchu's wedding. On the day of the ceremony, I arrived as promised, but I never imagined that I would become the groom. The wedding invitations could only be opened at the venue. They also served as the entry pass. As I tore mine open, the bride's name was written clearly, Shen Nianchu. But when I looked at the groom's name, I froze. It read Lu Chen. The entire venue erupted in shock. Every guest stared at the invitation in disbelief. Song Hongxuan's face turned pale. He rushed forward, desperately trying to stop the ceremony. He even pleaded with Shen Nianchu, but nothing could change her decision. Within minutes, the wedding dominated every trending topic online. Shen Nianchu's groom revealed. Who is Princess Shen's real groom? Song Hongxuan was never the groom. Lu Chen, Princess Shen's unforgettable love, returns after 5 years and becomes the groom, standing on the stage in her wedding dress. Shen Nianchu faced the cameras and every guest present then. She told everyone the truth. She admitted that everything back then had been her mistake. She said she had hidden her identity only to protect me while the Shen family was in chaos. She had never promised Song Hongxuan or the Song family that she would marry him from beginning to end. She had only ever announced that she was getting married. She had never once revealed who the groom would be. She also explained that she knew Song Hongxuan's personality. She knew he would try to damage my reputation. If I became famous, He would spread rumors and label me as someone trying to interfere with another person's relationship, even if the truth eventually came out. The damage would never fully disappear, so she decided to stop everything before it could begin. When she finished speaking, Shen Nyanchu slowly walked toward me in her flowing wedding gown in front of everyone. She knelt on one knee, holding out a ring. She proposed to me. I rejected her without hesitation. The moment I turned down Princess Shen's proposal, I became famous overnight. The internet exploded. "So you really can meet the love of your life by chance." Princess Shen actually proposed herself. With her status, countless men would gladly propose to her. Even so, deception is still deception. Poor Lu Chen, don't be too stubborn. Princess Shen truly loves you. I didn't respond to any of it. Instead, I took advantage of the unprecedented attention. I released the album I had spent 3 years creating. The response exceeded every expectation. My songs climbed to the top of the major music charts. My career took off at an incredible pace. Within a single year, I won multiple awards. My music spread across the country. I gained countless fans. Among them, my biggest supporter was Shen Nyanchu. After her proposal was rejected, she didn't give up. Instead, she openly began pursuing me. And when Princess Shen pursued someone, she did it in the most unforgettable way possible. Whenever I attended an awards ceremony, she arranged a convoy of luxury cars to escort me, no matter where I appeared. She was always there on time. Every product I endorsed, she bought in huge quantities and gave away to my fans for free. On my birthday, she lit up the skyline with giant displays celebrating me. Soon, a new topic stayed on the trending list every single day. Has Princess Shen won Lu Chen's heart today? I had already made my feelings perfectly clear. Yet, Shen Nyanchu never stopped. As for me, I refused to dwell on the past. I devoted all my energy to my career. I never allowed myself to slow down because I had started much farther behind everyone else. If I wanted to catch up, I had to keep running faster than everyone else. One night, after finishing an event, I walked out of the hotel. Suddenly, a van sped straight toward me. Everything happened too fast. Before I could react, a familiar, slender figure rushed forward from behind. Shen Nyanchu threw herself at me. She wrapped her arms around me and pushed me out of the vehicle's path. We both crashed onto the ground. She landed hard on her back, protected in her embrace. I wasn't hurt at all. The scene instantly fell into chaos. After a full medical examination at the hospital, I was completely unharmed. But Shen Nyanchu had suffered a bone injury. She would have to remain in bed and recover for quite some time. The driver responsible for the accident was quickly arrested. It turned out he had been hired by a rival company to target me. Because of her injuries, Shen Nyanchu had to stay in the hospital for several days. During that time, my manager, Sister Kai, kept hinting that I should visit her. I didn't respond. Instead, I quietly stared at a key in my hand. It had fallen out of Shen Nyanchu's coat pocket when she threw herself forward to save me. It was the key to my old house back in my hometown. After my mother passed away, I couldn't afford a burial plot in the capital, so I took her ashes back to our hometown and laid her to rest there. When I faked my death and left, I had forgotten to take the house key with me, but somehow, Shen Nyanchu had kept it all these years. Without hesitation, I booked the earliest flight to Chuan, and when I arrived at the old house, I unlocked the front door. The first thing that greeted me wasn't dust, but the scent of fresh air. The entire house was spotless. Everything had been carefully cleaned. My mother's portrait was placed neatly in the center of the wooden table. Fresh offerings surrounded it. I slowly walked over, then knelt down on the prayer cushion. Beside the incense burner lay a thick stack of letters. I picked up the one on top. The date written below was 5 years ago, right after Shen Nyanchu had regained her eyesight, yet continued hiding the truth from me. The letter began, "My dearest husband, Chen. By the time you read this letter, already have left our home. Don't worry, separation is only temporary. We've already paid our respects before Mom's memorial. We've already become husband and wife in my heart. You will always be the only man and the only husband, Shen Nyanchu's entire life. That will never change. First, I want to properly introduce myself again. My surname is Shen. My name is Shen Nyanchu. I'm the eldest daughter of the Shen family and the heir to the Shen group. I'm 168.89 centimeters tall. She even listed her personal details one by one when we first met. I hid my identity from you. I truly had no choice. My husband, please finish reading this letter. Please give your wife a chance to explain everything. Just then, as I was leaving the old house, an elderly neighbor called out to me. Chen, I turned around. Grandma Zhang, it's been a long time. How have you been? I'm doing just fine. Why did you come back alone? Where's you bring her with you? And your children? I froze. Grandma, I'm not married. She looked at me in complete disbelief. What are you talking about? Your wife comes here every single year to visit your mother's grave. Just during the major holidays, she comes throughout the year. Every time she brings so many things. Even shares them with all of us neighbors. Always says. Everyone here must have looked after a Chen when he was little. Stood there speechless. Shen Nianchu had been visiting my mother's grave every single year. Grandma Zhang smiled warmly. You found yourself a wonderful wife. She's beautiful. You can tell she comes from a wealthy family. She never minds getting her hands dirty, even stays in this old house. New Year, I brought her some roasted sweet potatoes. I heard her crying all by herself inside, kept calling your name, saying she missed you, asking when you'd come home. Oh, and the year before that, someone in the village told her you had already died. She got so angry that she kicked down the old fence at the village entrance. She refused to believe it, kept saying, Chen is still alive. I'll wait. Matter how long it takes, I'll wait until he comes home. Grandma laughed softly. Those brand new fences at the village entrance, they all cost a fortune. Your wife paid to have them replaced after the work was finished. Gave gifts to every family in the village. She specifically told everyone, if you ever came back, we weren't allowed to tell you she broke the old fence, dear. I guess I wasn't supposed to mention that. At that moment, my heart ached. I gathered every letter, boarded the first flight back to the capital, and rushed straight to the hospital. When I arrived, Shen Nianchu was quietly eating breakfast. She clearly hadn't expected me to come. The moment she saw me, she immediately stood up. The bowl slipped from her hands, hot porridge spilled across her clothes. Yet she didn't even glance at it. She hurried toward me instead. Her beautiful eyes never left my face in her excitement. She accidentally bumped her injured leg against the chair. Behind her, the secretary quickly said, Princess Shen, please slow down. Mr. Lu came here on his own. He's not going anywhere. My gaze shifted to the bandaged arm hanging in a sling. Your arm hasn't healed yet. Move around. I gently helped her sit back down. She looked at me from only inches away. The happiness in her eyes was impossible to hide. The secretary seemed ready to say something else, but Shen Nianchu quietly nudged her away. The secretary rubbed the spot helplessly and left the room with a smile. Looking at my hands, Shen Nianchu frowned. Why are your hands so cold? I'll have someone bring you some hot soup. You weren't at the hospital these past 2 days. Where did you go? I smiled. So, you asking because you're worried, or because you've stationed people everywhere to keep an eye on me? She immediately puffed out her cheeks and quietly looked away. Just like before, that stubborn little puppy expression had returned once again. Chen, I went back to Chuanan. I took out the letters. I only read the beginning. I want to hear the rest directly from you. Ask the questions. Answer honestly. Okay, she nodded without hesitation. Ask me anything. Tell you everything. Even my bank passwords if you want. I have more than 100 bank cards. Every single password is your birthday. Listening to Shen Nianchu's answers, I finally pieced together the truth behind everything that had happened years ago when I found her in that alley. She had just survived a serious car accident. The one who arranged it was her father's illegitimate son, her younger half-brother. He had hired professional killers from another city to eliminate her. During the first week after I brought her home, her memories were indeed in complete chaos. Sometimes she was conscious, sometimes she wasn't. That was why, when I asked about her parents and family, she genuinely couldn't answer. About half a month later, her memories gradually returned. But she still chose not to tell me who she really was. She didn't want me to become involved at that time. The Shen group was caught in a brutal internal power struggle. Even ordinary people had heard about it. After old Master Shen passed away, he left the inheritance to his eldest granddaughter. Many members of the family strongly opposed it. They believed a woman shouldn't inherit such a powerful business. One conflict followed another. Shen Nianchu's father was forced back to the ancestral residence. Her mother was pushed aside, and Shen Nianchu herself disappeared after being attacked. She was afraid those relatives would eventually find me. She didn't want me to become another target, so she endured everything in silence, waiting for the right opportunity to fight back. I wanted to tell you the truth many times. I was afraid. I didn't want you to spend every day living in fear because of me. I was also afraid that once you learned who I really was, you'd leave me. Actually, starting from the 3rd year, my most trusted assistant had already found me. I ordered him to secretly protect us. I couldn't let anyone know where I was. If my enemies discovered us, the consequences would have been unimaginable. I remained silent for a long moment. Then I finally asked the question that had stayed in my heart all these years. What about that day? The day I saw you hugging Song Hongxuan outside our house. Shen Nianchu frowned slightly, then realization appeared in her eyes. So, that's what you misunderstood. That day, of my half-brothers had tracked me down. Hongxuan and I deliberately staged that scene together. At that time, my eyesight had only recovered temporarily, lasted for about 20 minutes. After that, I couldn't see again, because the Song family had business ties with my mother. His father hoped I would regain control of the Shen family. Song Hongxuan was only delivering messages between us. Everything suddenly became clear. I finally remembered. While she was holding Song Hongxuan, she had kept looking around nervously back then. I thought she was afraid I might see them. Now I understood. Her temporary vision had just returned. Her enemies were still hiding nearby. She had simply been watching her surroundings. I had to return to the company immediately. The situation couldn't wait. I didn't dare come back to find you. I wrote all those letters before I left. My plan was to mail them to you as soon as I returned. I wanted you to know the whole truth. I asked Song Hongxuan to give you some money, pretend that I no longer wanted you. I thought, if you believed I'd abandoned you, my enemies would stop paying attention to you. They would see you as someone completely unrelated to me. Just never imagined that Song Hongxuan would secretly add more money, create those fake intimate photos. I definitely never imagined that you'd really take the money and disappear. You even claimed that you'd found a wealthy woman who wanted to support you. Do you know how angry I was? But every time I calmed down, I would think to myself, I hope the rich woman you found isn't wealthier than I am. That way, one day you'll come back to me. Shen Nianchu looked at me with eyes full of guilt, not trying to blame everything on Song Hongxuan. I know I was wrong. I should have explained everything to you from the very beginning. Finally understand now. When two people truly love each other, they should face every problem together, decide everything alone in the name of protecting the other person. I'm sorry, I love you. Me one more chance. I didn't answer. Now that every misunderstanding had finally been cleared up, I realized both of us had made mistakes. I was wrong. Because I was too insecure to ask her the questions that mattered. She was wrong. Because she believed carrying every burden alone was the same as protecting me. Love was never supposed to work that way. It meant facing everything together. No matter how difficult the road became, the 5 years we spent apart couldn't be blamed on only one person back then. Neither of us truly understood what it meant to love someone. 1 month later, after Shen Nianchu was discharged from the hospital, I posted a message on Weibo. Fallen for someone. I'm just waiting for the right moment to confess. Shen Nianchu never asked who that woman was. Instead, she simply sent me a message. If she ever treats you badly, tell me. Deal with her. That sounded exactly like something the Shen family's eldest daughter would say. I called her. Got some gossip for you. After everything that happened at your wedding, Song Hongxuan's reputation completely collapsed, left the country the following month. I know. Business between the Shen and Song families has already ended. There won't be any cooperation in the future. As for Song Hongxuan, if you want him to face even greater consequences, I smiled. No, he's already moved on. Even sent me a message yesterday, said he got married overseas. Now he has twin sons. Then, how did you see my post? I already said, fallen for someone. What about you? Have you met anyone new recently? There was a brief silence, then Shen Nianchu quietly changed the subject. At the recording studio, aren't you? Have you had breakfast? I suppose Sister Kai prepared it for you. I laughed softly. She didn't. You did, didn't you? She immediately fell silent. I could almost picture her expression, that stubborn little puppy face again, a spoiled yet careful girl, always pretending to behave. Every time I told her not to prepare anything for me, she would obediently apologize, but the next day, she would secretly do it anyway. Whenever I confronted her, she would put on the most innocent expression. How could someone be so good at pretending not to know anything while taking such good care of someone else? Oh, right. Your mother came to see me a few days ago. Mother, what did she say? Don't worry. Handle it, said. You're not getting any younger. That it's time for you to get married. She was worried delaying it too long wouldn't be good for you. Then, what did you tell her? I told her that I've already fallen for someone. At next month's concert, I'm planning to confess to her in front of everyone. You'll be there too, right? After a long pause, Shen Nianchu finally answered. Next month. Be busy. I have to go to the United States on a business trip. Probably won't make it. Disappointment in her voice was impossible to miss. It became so quiet that I could barely hear her breathing. I almost laughed. Really? That's a shame. If the woman I like doesn't come, then I won't be able to confess. I guess. Just have to fall for someone else. The next second, a loud crash came through the phone. It sounded like Shen Nianchu had dropped her phone. Immediately afterward, I heard her secretary shouting in panic, Princess Shen, please don't run. The car is right over here. I'll drive, Mr. Lu's event location has already been confirmed. Your arm still hasn't fully recovered, and you're wearing high heels 3 years after we got married. Shen Nianchu gave birth to our daughter when she turned 5. The 3 of us returned to my hometown in Chuanan. We stayed in the old house for a few days. Then we brought our daughter to visit my mother's grave in the quiet mountains. Our daughter's bright little voice echoed through the trees. Grandma, my name is Nyanyan. Daddy, Mommy, and I came to see you. Ami told me she'll always take good care of Daddy, so you don't have to worry anymore. Daddy also said, you used to sing beautifully. I'm learning to sing too. Sing a song for you. I gently wrapped my arm around Shen Nianchu's slender waist, looking at our daughter, who resembled my mother in several ways. My heart was filled with peace after our daughter grew tired. I carried her on my back. I held Shen Nianchu's hand together. We slowly walked home beneath the rising sun. Baby. I called to her softly. She tilted her head and looked at me. Her beautiful eyes were overflowing with love. You know, I leaned close and whispered into her ear, loved you, ever since the day we first met. Her eyes instantly lit up, brighter than the morning sunrise. Standing on tiptoe, she gently kissed me. Husband, I love you too. I made a promise to myself long ago. This lifetime, I only want you. If I couldn't wait for you, I would never marry anyone else. Shen Nianchu loved Lu Chen faithfully for this lifetime and every lifetime after.